Welcome, everyone, to Defending Our Children. We have for you today a guest that probably needs no introduction to most of you. He is an actor. His name is Kirk Cameron, but he is also a man who runs an organization called The Way of the Master, and he talks about truths about Christianity. He informs a lot of people. He's a man who operates out of deep love in his heart. And I want to introduce him to you now. So, folks, please welcome Kirk Cameron to the show. Kirk, thank you, sir, for your entertainment. Thank you for your heart for the Father and your heart for the country. And I would invite you to introduce yourself any further to the degree that you want to before we throttle up in this conversation.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on the program this morning. Listen, anybody who wants to defend children, anyone who recognizes the value of in the heart of a child to create positive or negative worlds in the future is, man, I'm on your team. So let's jump into it. Let's talk about what you're doing, whatever it is that I can offer, tell you about what I'm doing out here in Hollywood, California, and let's jump into it.
Yeah, man. Well, my daughter, so we founded Vets for Child Rescue to expose the problem of child trafficking in the continental United States, because I've got a covert background in counterterrorism and the intelligence community, fighting boogeymen that may come here one day and harm our peace and freedom. But I realized child trafficking is run at an industrial scale here in the United States. So I started Veterans for Child Rescue to combat that, and mainly to expose it so that the entire populace could see it and rise up together and combat the problem. So we made a documentary called Contraland, showing people all the factual evidence of what's happening. And what's come out since then, so much with Harvey Weinstein, a lot of that is there are different industries that are predatory in their nature, especially against the little ones. And the music industry is a big one. Film and television is another one. Just as one example with Harvey Weinstein, our daughter's an actress and a singer, and she spent 2 years out in LA recently. And she's like, man, it's getting bad, especially the music side of the entertainment industry. So I don't know what you'd be comfortable talking about or what you may have seen there. But there's one thing that we could kind of crack open and talk about. But, I understand you homeschool your kids, which I celebrate. I champion that. And it's more needed than ever. But one of the things we see is that the parents that are bold in their convictions to protect their children, asking difficult questions at school board meetings, boy, they're labeled as domestic terrorists by some of our federal law enforcement agencies. And it's like, wait, what? Since when is a protective parent of their own child a domestic terrorist? Well, who's terrorized by a righteous mama bear? That's my question in light of that. So we can kind of crack it open in that direction any way you'd like to.
Yeah. Man, this is an important topic, and first of all, let me say that I have tremendous respect for you and for what you and your team does. You're calling out the evil, and you're shouting it from the rooftops. You're like a watchman on the wall, and we're so grateful for that. I'm in the kind of the culture building side of society. Whereas what I'm seeing you do with counterterrorism and rescuing kids and child trafficking and that stuff, I mean, you're downstream pulling kids out of the water, trying to let everybody know on the banks of what's going on so that they're not oblivious to it. And you're doing amazing things. And I'm like way upstream in the places that are indoctrinating parents and industries with a set of values that has produced this evil and this wickedness that has resulted in kids drowning in this stuff and being swept away and trafficked in this stuff. And you're trying to save them right later. And so I think this is good. I would love to talk about this upstream stuff. Man,
Well,
I feel like we've got to not only talk about the evil that's being done by the ravenous wolves who profit off of kidnapping, stealing, and exploiting children, But we've also got to talk about the family culture that has brought us to a place where we're creating people and societies without the kind of Christian values we once had that would have made this kind of stuff unthinkable in America. We've fallen so far from that. And so if we really let's not only save those who are the victims, but let's also cut it off at the source by getting people to take as more of a sacred responsibility the task of raising their children to be future leaders of integrity and faith and character, right? When we see law enforcement turning their head, or we see entertainment industry that's profiting off this stuff, what if the executives in Hollywood were actually saved and sanctified and grew up having been discipled by parents and churches and communities to be leaders that actually produce the freest, strongest, most virtuous people in the world? This is why people always loved coming to America, is because it was built on Christian principles. And because we've gotten away from that, we have now we've spit into the wind, and it's now blowing back in our face, and we can't get the windshield wipers to move fast enough to give us clear vision anymore.
100%. Why did I know that you would have wise observations on this? So you're tracking right with what we've experienced in this fight. We've been in this for 7 years now, and we see that our nation is under very deliberate and systematic attack to break down those protections of ourselves, and seemingly specifically for the children. And the nuclear family unit, the divine and sacred union of a strong masculine male and an intuitive, loving female together that fit and make together what they can't be alone.
Yeah.
It's a perfect alliance, and that is under attack. Why? Because if you put yourself in an enemy's perspective against the United States, well, what would you do if you wanted to weaken the United States, to break down the culture, break down everything that makes it unbeatable as a nation? How would you gain hostile control over a nation that has those values and that harmonious, that gel that binds them together? Well, you would attack that. And that's what, Yuri Bezmenov, the Russian KGB defector, warned us about. I think the Bible warns us about it in so many ways too. But Yuri said, hey, the ideological subversion is the deliberate attempt to break down the fabric, the culture that made us so strong. Go against the founding fathers, go against the Judeo-Christian values, go against the mother and father family unit, go against both parties, and indoctrinate the children in the educational system so that they don't even have a chance, man. And my frustration with it is that we, the people, aren't aware that we're even under attack. Yeah. So people will keep acting and voting to further the harm rather than combat it. So I celebrate it when people like you see it and they're like, well, this is hostile. This is destructive.
Bro, let me share something with you that I've committed to memory, because it's a reminder to me. It's gas in my tank, it's wind in my sails, and it's a few quotes, a handful of them from the founding fathers and others. But there was a guy named Alexis de Tocqueville. This is a French political scientist and historian who set out to discover what made America so unique and so great. And in his summary, he essentially said this. He said, I sought to discover the source of America's greatness and its power. And I looked in her commodious harbors and her ample rivers, and it was not there. I looked in her fertile fields and her boundless prairies, and it was not there. I searched in her rich mines and her vast world commerce, and it was not there. He said, not until I went to the churches of America and heard her pulpits aflame with righteousness did I discover the secret to her genius and her success. America is great because she is good. And if America ever ceases to be good, she will cease to be great.
Wow. There you go, folks.
That is a Frenchman who
Yeah.
understood what catapulted America to a pinnacle nation in the world in an extremely short period of time. And this is nothing less than the blessing of God that comes when his people don't just listen to the word, they become doers of the word, not just in their Bible studies, but with their
Kirk,
families,
you're
in their
absolutely right,
churches,
brother.
in their societies.
I'm
Go
so
ahead.
sorry. We do have to cut to a quick break. Folks, stay tuned. We'll be right back with a whole lot more from Kirk Cameron.
You or a loved one struggling with addiction. Rancho Milagro Recovery is an accredited drug and alcohol addiction recovery program treating the whole person through their lifelong recovery process. Our process incorporates both medication-assisted treatment and psychological therapy to help all aspects of an individual's mind, body, and spirit. Our lavish accommodation sits on 60 acres of outdoor greatness where your privacy and discretion is our utmost concern. Find lasting recovery and walk away from addiction one step at a time. RanchoMilagroRecovery.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Defending Our Children. We're on with Kirk Cameron. What a role he is on. Man, I love that observation of our nation. And like you were pointing out, that's not an American, that's a Frenchman. I mean, so how much more should we know and appreciate? We're living it here, the culture that we have and the opportunity. So, brother, please continue.
Yeah. Well, there's so many founding fathers who understood all these things, and for those of you who are just tuning back in, maybe just right now, we've been talking about that one vital aspect of protecting and defending our children is by creating a healthy society upstream before all of the trafficking takes place. We've got to cut off the source of all of this carnage, in addition to rescuing those who are already trapped in this wicked matrix. And one of the ways that we do that is through good parenting and the teaching of righteousness and goodness, morals, character, virtue, value. We've got to do that. That's what has made this country so free and so safe and so generous and such a blessing to so many people. I want to give us a chance to take some wisdom from Gandalf the Grey, from Lord of the Rings. We can jump back to founding fathers, but check out this Middle Earth wisdom.
All right.
He's talking to the Fellowship of the Ring, and he says, with regard to the evil that they see around them, that seems to just be getting worse and worse and worse, and they're wondering, why do I wish I wasn't born at a time like this? And Gandalf the Grey says this. He says, other evil shall come, for even Sauron himself is but an emissary or a servant. In other words, even the great evil of Sauron himself, he has actually got someone higher than him that's sending him as a servant and as a messenger of even greater evil. He said, but listen, our task is not to master all the tides of the world, but rather to do what is in us for the help of those years wherein we are set, uprooting the evil in the fields we know, so that those who live after us may have clean earth to till. What weather they shall have is not ours to rule. I think Gandalf has got it right. This is wisdom out of the scriptures. This is wisdom from our founding fathers.
It really is.
We can't stop all the evil in the world. This is a David and Goliath times 10 situation. But what we can do is answer the call to do everything we can while we have breath in the years where we have been set in the place that God has put us on the stage of the world to do what? Uproot evil in the field you know. You know how to do that, sir, in this field of child protection. I know how to do that in my home with my family and in the entertainment industry. And while we're at it, we're going to plant some seeds of truth and beauty and goodness so that our children who live after us will have a cleaner world to build in. And they'll be ready for the political storms, for the immoral winds that will blow. Why? Because there is a God in heaven who loves them, and they have grown up around moms and dads and community members of faith who have shown them how to do it in their generation, and they'll be given the strength to do it in theirs.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that whole leading by example and inspiring others and giving. Our culture seems to be so programmed now with me, self, take. Yeah. And we've got all these people stepping on each other to try to get their nose above the others. Whereas what we found, and it's biblical, man, when it's just amazing what happens when you decide to start giving and helping others. And if you care, if you have compassion for your children and you want to leave a better life for them, a better nation, a better world behind for them, you will work to make it better and not just take and rape it and leave it barren and desolate and hostile and chaotic. I mean, where love is that? So, no, I think,
that's
Gandalf,
exactly right.
Gandalf there, it does align perfectly with biblical scripture and the principles of what I think. Obviously, that's where that was inspired from, in my opinion.
Tolkien got it. J.R. Tolkien, he understood. And same with C.S. Lewis and the Chronicles of Narnia. That's what it's inspired from. Listen, if you don't mind, could I anticipate what I think some people may be feeling right now is, man, I'm already on board with y'all. I've been listening to this podcast. Look, I'm in the Army. I'm enlisted. I'm signed up. Come on, what do I do? And I think that's one of the frustrations we have is we feel like, what can I do against this monster machine, this woke mind virus that has infected every corporation and the schools and everything? And so I'd like to just give you a little story of something that I did a couple of Christmases ago that has turned into something awesome. Can I do that?
Please do.
A couple of Christmases ago, I wrote a children's book called As You Grow. It's about teaching children how to grow faith, hope, and love in their hearts. And I wanted to read it at some public libraries, just like the drag queens have been doing. And I was denied by over 50 woke libraries that had previously held drag queen story hours for children. I went to my friends at the news. I called them out, let them know that in the United States of America, you can't play like that, and I'm prepared to assert my constitutional rights. They reversed course. I went to these libraries in Indianapolis and Los Angeles and New York and DC that said, you won't have anybody show up because we don't like those values. And I had over 3,000 people show up, crushing the records of any events that have ever been held at these places, demonstrating that even the hurting states are crying out for a change and a return to the values that are pro-God, pro-America, and pro-Bible. This is culminated in a national event called See You at the Library, where last summer we had over 300 story hours at public libraries where parents were hosting them themselves, singing the national anthem, praying to God, and reading books of Christian virtue and character to their kids. This summer, we're going to 2X it. And we've invited Guinness World Records to come record what will be the world's largest family wholesome story hour in the world. The drag queens did this. They had them come out and record the world's largest drag queen story hour. Not the world's largest drag queen. Some of them are pretty large, but the actual drag queen story hour, I know that's a word picture you didn't want me to paint. But the world's largest story hour turns out 260 people. We're going to have 100,000 people across 500 libraries simultaneously on August 24th. It's called See You at the Library. And if you go to bravebooks.com, you can find your library on the map and who's hosting it and sign up to go be there. Or you can actually host your own story hour like I did and like hundreds of people are going to be doing to send a message to the nation that it's time for a return to the values that lead to our blessing and protection.
What a beautiful thing. And what I see, Kirk, is people are starved for justice and they're starved for truth, because the airwaves have been so manipulated in recent years that people are tired of seeing and hearing things that they know not to be true in real life. And they're getting more and more agitated, more and more frustrated. The more they see that they're lied to and sold out and betrayed, and nothing's happening to those who are doing the harm, people are starved for it. And so I think that's where you're seeing this pushback and this thirst, this hunger for what is real, what is genuine, what works, what is good, what is righteous, and it's not about sitting around in little circles being religious, quote unquote religious. It's about a true relationship with the Creator and what works, what is good, and what leads to healing and what leads to life. And that's all been so distorted recently. So I celebrate this time of exposure and awakening that seems like we're in.
Yeah, bro. And just these last couple of seconds before the break, We serve a loving, faithful, powerful creator who creates not just worlds and not just individuals, but he creates families, he creates entire cultures. And he has invested the flesh and blood of his own son to reconcile the whole world back to himself. This is not about you and me hunkering down on the couch watching Fox News while we cry in our Chick-fil-A soup at all the kids who are being trafficked. It's time for us to get on our feet, lean in, stand up, speak up, and do something to bring heaven to earth. We've got the power to do it. We've got the truth, and we've got history on our side. So let's go.
Come on. I'm all about that. I like that. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back with a lot more from Kirk Cameron.
Hey, Tim James here, founder of ChemicalFreeBody.com, also the health coach for Craig Sawyer and Forrest Seeley. And I want to help working class people get their energy back and quit having all these health issues. Here's the problems. The average person is carrying around 6 to 12 pounds of impacted fecal material in your colon. This is not good. Number 2, we have terrible nutrition because the nutrition has been farmed out of our soils and processed out. Plus, processed foods are killing 4,300 people a day. We need good nutrition. Number 3, our gut microbiome's all jacked up from all these toxins and pesticides and stress. We have to balance that. We also have tremendous amounts of inflammation in the body, and we have an overload of toxins from heavy metals, radiation, and pollution. Craig and I and Forrest got together. We created what we call our Defending Our Health bundle. This is a bundle of our products over here at ChemicalFreeBody.com that will revolutionize your health. We've put them together. Green 85 is going to come in and supply you with all the nutrition you need. Our Gut Detox will take care of all that impacted garbage inside of you and keep it out. Toxin Detox will get the heavy metals, the radiation, and the pollution out. The Nano Silver, the Triple Action, will start balancing the gut microbiome, and the Turmeric 100 will start reducing inflammation in the body. You put it all together, and working class people can now get their energy back and their health back and start to heal themselves. We need you to be healthy so that you can fight for freedom and fight for these kids. Go to chemicalfreebody.com/DOC and check out the Defending Our Health bundle and all of the other wonderful products that we offer, and we look forward to helping you have the best life ever.
Welcome back, everyone, to Defending Our Children. We are on with Kirk Cameron. What a fantastic conversation it's been so far. Kirk, in the entertainment business, what's it like now? If we're parents who had a daughter that really, really wanted to go into entertainment biz, and we watched over her pretty closely. Some of the auditions that would come around the country, auditioning little girls for different things. I would go with her and warn her and educate her about the dangers. And now in hindsight, she sees through the pageant industry and all that, the harm, and she's even started speaking out about it. And there's a lot of different angles. Is there anything that you have as far as your observations of entertainment industry? What should people who have children that want to be in it, what should they be aware of, or what do you think the people most need to know?
We need people of faith and character in the entertainment industry, in arts and entertainment. We need them in military. We need them in government. We need them in our churches. We need songwriters, storytellers. We need people of faith and character everywhere, because these are the industries that create our culture, that build our worlds. And I was in the entertainment industry starting at 9 years old. So I'm doing a McDonald's commercial or a 409 or a Fruit Loops cereal commercial. And then I got a part on the TV show Growing Pains when I was 14 years old. I ended up being on this hit show, and I met my wife there. She was my girlfriend on the show. We got married. We've been married now for 35 years. We've got 6 grown children and 1 granddaughter. So shows like that
Awesome.
help to shape some people's childhood. For me, it was Happy Days. For some, it's Full House or Growing Pains or Who's the Boss or Leave It to Beaver, Little House on the Prairie. And these are the types of television shows that also help to form our value systems. And we can't overlook that when it comes to this issue of defending and protecting our children. So moms and dads, if your kid wants to be a creative and is artistic because God has given them that gifting and that desire, I would support that. However, we've got to be very, very careful, because those are the industries that are notorious for harming children as well. And it's interesting. I think we should be able to detect, why do the drag queens go after the kids? Why are the pedophiles in the entertainment industry? Why are they in the music business? You know why? I think there is an understanding of wise people I shouldn't say wise people, smart people, operatives, they understand that if you can get to the children when they're young, when their minds are malleable, when you can shape the little ones, then you play the long game by getting them into your schools, getting them into your apprentice discipleship programs. You can shape and control the future. That's what Hitler did. That's what everybody understands. Get them into your schools and pump their brain through entertainment and education, and you have got the whole world in 20 years. So I would say that while there's lots of pedophilia there, while there's lots of wickedness proliferating in Hollywood, I continue to work in that industry for the same reason you want a godly president in the civil government sector. The same reason that you want godly lawyers out there who are not going to buy in and succumb to the woke mind virus and vote for garbage that is destroying people. You want entertainers and storytellers, poets and songwriters who are going to write the kinds of songs that are going to capture the imagination and the heart and passion of your children to love what is true and beautiful and good. For example, one thing in my own life, I'm now producing a children's TV show called The Adventures with Iggy and Mr. Kirk. Imagine a kid's show that's not about transgender ideology, that is not trying to subvert Christian values, but shore them up and give parents a time where they can redeem screen time for their kids. Put them in front of an iPad and have every single episode teach children a better understanding of right and wrong and a love for the truth, and shore up their faith in the Lord. That's what this show is all about. It has nostalgic nods to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and Sesame Street. I've got a little puppet buddy named Iggy, a little green iguana, and we've got a vulture named Culture who's always trying to deceive and lie to Iggy and get him to believe stuff that is not true. And he lives in my treehouse in Mr. Kirk's backyard. And this is a show that's going to be on every streaming platform for free this October. And I'm so excited because why? Because I'm not sitting back being a professional complainer about the culture. I am engaging by being a creator of the culture. And you can too. You can read books to your kids. You can choose the right shows. You can support companies that are doing good things and pushing back against the evil, like Brave Books, the guys that I partnered with to make this show. Like go to see you at the library, at your local library, host an event. Send a toolkit to support the host who's going to do the library reading. And you can find all that stuff at bravebooks.com if you're interested in any of these tracks to run on.
Right on. I celebrate that. It's so important, man. If you want things to be better and be part of the contribution process to
That's
make
right.
it better. So, man, I celebrate that. And Culture the Vulture. I love that's clever because, I mean,
Yeah, man.
you know,
that's it.
shaping that culture,
and
and that predator, you know, it's an ugly predator, in my opinion, the vulture.
Yeah, but here's the interesting thing. I'm always telling Iggy, my little green buddy, culture does not have to be bad. Currently, culture is all about everything that is evil and disgusting and putrid and vile. And that's why he's deceiving you. But for us in the real world, we have to also understand this. Culture is values externalized.
Right.
That's the reality, guys. This culture has been formed on our watch, on the watch of the last several generations of people. And as we've gotten away from the Bible, as we've taken prayer out of school and the 10 Commandments out of our courtrooms, now we're taking, maleness out of men. Now we're turning them into girls. We're abusing girls by carving them up and trying to turn them into pseudo men, destroying everything about the very fundamental building blocks of family, gender, right? Yeah. And this is all happening on our watch. And we continue to send our children to schools, public schools, that indoctrinate kids with this. Look, if we continue to send our children to Caesar to be educated, we shouldn't be surprised if they come back Romans.
Right. Well, look, for those people who read the Bible, they see that all this distortion and chaos is an attack on humanity. But those who don't read it and don't know, then they probably don't have any idea what's happening or why.
Yeah, and they
that's
want to
why
normalize it. They want to
wanna
normalize it because
normalize
it's
it, thinking that
scary
they're
to be in emergency mode constantly. You can't take that for very long. You've got to somehow find a place to equalize things. And the easiest way is to say, well, if I can't beat them, join them. And all of a sudden you say, well, they've given me a way to go along with mutilating children's bodies by saying it's called being tolerant and inclusive. And I want to be tolerant and inclusive. So I guess we just have to be okay with it. Meanwhile, it's just plunging them further into darkness.
Yeah, that's put on that devil's advocate hat again for that. And you could realize if you wanted to harm a society, you would condition them to be tolerant, and I put tolerant in air quotes, tolerant of literally any harm that you
Yeah.
superimpose or that you inject into
Yeah.
their culture.
And even have them consider it virtuous to do so.
Yeah. And if you don't say that it's virtuous, then you're shunned and
Punished.
yeah. Yeah. So it's important
Yeah,
that
bro.
we
This is
understand.
1984, right? This is
Right. Yeah.
This is Animal Farm. This is A Brave New World. We're watching it happen in front of our eyes, and the reason those authors could write those books is because it's happened before. We've been here before, not so much in America, but in other countries. That's why they all come to this country, because they want freedom. They want character and blessing. They want to be free to love God, and yet we're watching it happen in front of our eyes. And so we should heed the warnings of those books and say, man, don't let the pigs run the place. Put the responsibility and the authority back into the hands of people, and then teach them how to govern themselves under God.
Absolutely. 100%. I agree. I celebrate it all. Folks, we're having a great conversation with Kirk Cameron. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more.
Here to review this V4CR coffee from Veterans for Child Rescue. Getting rid of child trafficking all around the world.
Rescue Roast. This is being offered strictly to fund our operations. We found a great roaster, chosen our 3 favorite flavors, and our light, medium, and dark roast. We're offering it right now in pre-ground form. If you want to enjoy it in K-cups, we have stainless steel cups on our website, and they are reusable. Just take the coffee and pour it into the cup. Close it up, put it in the machine. Oh yeah. So go to our website right now, v4cr.org. Order as much as you want on our shop page. We're grateful for your continued support. We're excited about what this means as far as boosting the funding for our operations. Thank you so much for your continued support. God bless. Welcome back, everyone, to Defending Our Children. We're on with actor Kirk Cameron. We're talking about so many things that affect our children. Kirk, I want for people to be able to find you and support what you do, because I celebrate your heart for the children, your heart for our nation, your heart for the Father. Where can people find you and support what you do before we go any further with the show, sir?
Well, thank you. Find me in your prayers, please. Somehow the Father connects us. Like, he's really great at connecting all of us together in a spirit of unity through prayer and his spirit. So please pray for me. I would greatly value that. And then you could find, most of what I'm doing, you could find at bravebooks.com, the children's TV show, the books that I'm writing, see you at the library event, bravebooks.com. And I can't say enough good things about them. And while you're there, support them, because they're playing the long game. It's not about like ratings on a TV show or an Academy Award or a bestseller list. They're about investing into your children throughout their lifetime by writing books you can read to them that foster family connection and conversations that you can have with them about faith and character. So support them, become a part of their Book of the Month club, whatever, bravebooks.com.
What a fantastic thing. We'll go there and we'll send all our friends there, and we'll put it up on our website and drive as much love to that effort as we can. So,
well, thank you, brother. Have you heard about this thing that I'm doing right now called the American Campfire Revival?
I have. I've seen some of it on social media. Talk to us about it.
So we all remember what happened when COVID hit, and all of a sudden it's 14 days. Everybody, we need to flatten the curve, and everybody stayed home, and we're trying to figure out what is this crazy virus. And that turned into the beginning of a nightmare for several years, especially for guys like me in California. we're out there in the communist state of California and under house arrest practically. You can't go to church. You can't go to the grocery store. You can't practically go to the bathroom without asking the governor,
Right.
and you got to stay 6 feet away from the toilet when you do. It was just insane. And so right on the heels of that, we had the election. We had the transfer of power to the new administration and his 100-day plan. And I started saying, wait a minute, we as the family of faith need to have our own 100-day plan. And how about we learn the history of this country? We humble ourselves, pray, and turn back to God and see what he can do. So I made 100 consecutive campfires every single night in my backyard. And I prayed with the nation. Well, we saw great things happen. I learned so much, and it's been a couple of years now, and I'm reigniting the American Campfire Revival in my backyard in Tennessee. And I'm going through a book that I wrote over the last couple of years called Born to be Brave. I believe that this current cultural setback that we see is really a divine setup for a spiritual comeback led by the family of faith. Do you know that great awakenings and spiritual revivals in America have always come during times of child exploitation, government corruption, moral decline, spiritual apathy, and political corruption? I think we're teed up.
Yeah,
I think we're teed up again right now.
Indeed.
For an earthquake of values. People are crying out, and they're understanding that what we have is not working. It is degrading and decomposing the very fabric of our country. And I feel the rumblings of revival. And what we need now is to draw down on everything we know, and we need to get steel in our backbone, and we need to have courage. And I believe God's given it to us through the second birth. If you have the Spirit of God in your heart, he didn't give birth to you to be a coward and to just, be cowering in the corner or in a church huddle, but to get out there into the public square and get into the lives of your kids and your grandkids and begin to tell them the stories of the faithfulness and the power of God, and do what you can do where he's put you. And that's what this new book is all about. It's what I'm teaching through at the American Campfire Revival every Sunday night and Tuesday night live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Rumble, and X. So I'm super excited about that, and I'd love to invite people to join me there.
Fantastic. And we've been making the same observation you have. This seems to be a season of exposure of that which is dysfunctional and wicked and chaotic and destructive. And in that contrast, people are awakening. And in that exposure of that which is so very wrong, and the exposure of the deception and the manipulation and the hostility behind it, people are going, whoa, wait a minute, almost like, hold it. Something's not the way that they've been telling us for so long. And there's this whole process, and these things must happen. And I celebrate it. And it's painful for a lot of people to awaken, but it is healthy and good that we recognize that which has been so destructive, so that we can, as you said so astutely, turn from it. And that's what repent means. And so many people may have that idea wrong in their mind, like, well, I have to feel horrible about myself, just heap myself in grief and doom. No, it's like recognizing that way is wrong. That way is harmful and destructive. I'm going to turn and go the opposite way and do that which is good and leads to healing in life. Yeah. And we can do that as a nation. And boy, we're trying to help it go that way.
Oh, man. Amen. Amen. What you just said makes me think of two things. One, the story of the prodigal son. When the father had a son come to him, so he said, give me my inheritance. Essentially, he's saying, Dad, I just want to hasten your death, get to the point where I get your stuff so I can go live the way that I want to live. And it wasn't until he found himself in the pigsty and he was starving, thinking about the fact that I've fallen from a great situation here. He came to himself and returns to his father. And what's the great news at the end of this story? That the father sees him, he runs to him. He's not pissed and saying, yeah, it's about time you come to your senses. And why don't we start with an apology? He kisses him. He puts a robe on him. He throws a party and he puts a ring on his finger. And the whole point of that story is that that's how God treats those who repent. who simply just come to their senses and turn back to the Father. There is love and joy and celebration for one person who turns from their sin. Second thing, I think I just forgot the second thing. Yeah, I think I did. It just went out of my mind.
While you're remembering, so many people say, well, I can't be forgiven. I've gone too far. I can't be forgiven for what I've done. It's just too bad. And the answer to that is that's not true. No matter what you've done, it's in the heart. So if you turn from your wicked ways and you repent from that, which means change, have a change of heart and go the other way, the Creator, there's absolute forgiveness as though it never took place, and only He can do that. And there's nothing but love and truth there. And it's beautiful.
That's right. That's right. And I think that there are national blessings that are just waiting for our country and any country that will turn back to the Lord. The scriptures say, blessed is the nation whose God is Yahweh, whose God is the Lord. And just as an individual can turn back and find times of refreshing in his heart, his mind can be transformed by the truth and find love and acceptance, forgiveness and joy in the Lord. I believe families can experience that too. If a father will turn his heart back to God, it will heavenize his marriage. His home will become more beautiful. That can also happen to societies and nations and the world. It's called revival. But as you said, revival always begins with repentance.
Yeah. And so many people, I think, have it wrong in that they think that if they did wrong, that they are hated by the Creator. And that couldn't be further from the truth. He loves every one of us, every single one of us. What He hates is the harm that we do, the evil that men do to each other and to themselves. He hates that because it harms us and it harms each other. So I would say, drop that rucksack, release that load off your back of, oh, I'm hated because I've done wrong. It's no, you're not hated, you're loved. But you have the chance to stop doing the harm, stop doing wrong, and turn from it. And your life will become, you will have healing there. I tell you what, man, I'm at 60 years old and I'm learning more now than I have ever before. And it's so beautiful. And I'm just celebrating it, and I'm grateful. So folks, stay with us. We'll be right back with more from Kirk Cameron.
Hey, Tim James here. When I was 37 years old, I had some severe gastrointestinal issues. I was tired, fatigued, wasn't feeling good, skin issues. My health was a mess. Let's just put it that way. Now I'm turning 52 this year, and I have abundant energy. I'm able to trail run and kick the butts of my 22 and 24-year-old sons. Yep, that's right. And do push-ups and all this other fun stuff. How did I do it? Well, one key ingredient, if you want to get healthy, if you want to get your energy back, you want to get your vitality back, is real nutrition. Our soils have been so over-farmed, 85% of the nutrition is gone today, and then the rest is processed out through these processing plants. So what we have created is a formula called Green 85 juice formula. You can take 1 scoop in the morning, and we suggest you do another one in the afternoon about a half an hour before dinner, and you will revitalize your health. You will get your health back. You will cut your hunger cravings, and you're going to actually cut your grocery bill in half. This product will literally pay for itself because you cannot eat as much food because your cells are now getting the nutrition they need. Go to chemicalfreebody.com/DOC. That's chemicalfreebody.com/DOC. Get Green 85 today and energize your life and your health so that you can feel as good as I do and Craig does and Forrest. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.
Welcome back, everyone, to Defending Our Children. This will be our last segment for today with Kirk Cameron. Kirk, what do you have to say as we wrap this segment with you? We're so proud of you and all that you do, and so glad to have you on the show. So I'll just give you the mic and let you run with it.
Well, you're a man of faith to do that. When you give the mic to a Hollywood actor, you never know what's going to come out of his mouth.
I watched you first, though. I made sure.
Okay, you vetted me. You did your homework. Okay, all right. But I'm also an actor. I could be faking the whole thing. But
and you're really good.
I'm responsible for the Lord for what I say and do. So here goes. How about we look to the words of somebody else that didn't just talk the talk, but walk the walk and built something that endured. Noah Webster, one of our founding fathers, gave us Noah Webster's dictionary. Okay, everybody heard of that? He was also the father of American education. Listen to what he said. He said, every civil government is built and based on some religion or philosophy of life. The education of that nation will propagate the religion of the nation. In America, that foundational religion was Christianity, and it was sown into their hearts for centuries through the home and the school, public and private. Our freedom, our growth, and our prosperity is the result of a biblical way of life. And our future success and survival depends on us teaching the youth of America the principles of Christianity. He understood that people were coming from all over the world to this new nation, the United States of America. And they all understood that Christianity was the basis for religious freedom, for educational freedom, economic freedom, so that they could prosper and have a healthy military defense, and they could produce the best products in the world that would be a blessing to everyone. And so I say all that to say, if you hear the term Christian nationalism associated with what you're trying to do by promoting Judeo-Christian values and getting back to the Constitution, understand this. Even Benjamin Franklin, one of the least Christian of our founding fathers, most of them were Christians, they were biblicists, they were ministers who were all signing the Declaration and the Constitution, understood that Christianity were the sublime principles that allowed all people to be here without their head getting cut off if they didn't agree with the king or be a part of the church. So if you're an atheist, a Muslim, a Buddhist, or whatever, don't worry about Christianity permeating the culture. You should pray for that, because that is what's going to give you the freedom to live as we live in the United States and prosper the way that we do. You want a Christian marriage, that's a virtuous marriage. You want a Christian home, you want to take your kids to a Christian school or visit St. Luke's Hospital or St. Jude's Hospital for children. Why? Because Christianity is infused into their principles, and it's all about compassion and caring for one another. That's the kind of nation that we want to have. So Christianity is your friend, no matter what it is that you believe, because it honors you as someone made in the image of God, and we will fight for you.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't argue with the principles that have been proven to work throughout human history. That's what works. It's the foundation. And when people want to remake that and reinvent it, they get into destruction and trouble.
That's right.
So that's what we've seen. Well, Kirk, thank you, sir. We appreciate you, man. And you want to give people a shout of where they can find you one more time?
Please go to bravebooks.com and support this great pro-God, pro-American company. Join their Book of the Month Club and join us at the See You at the Library Day on August 24th.
Kirk Cameron, God bless you, sir. Thanks for all that you do, and we'll see you around.
God bless you too, sir.
Thank you. Well, how cool is that, Forrest?
That is awesome. That's awesome.
I like what he's tracking on. It's interesting to see people find in their own lives so many of the things that just line up with others. I guess truth resonates because it is true. And so many people that are looking for truth and seeking it. They're making the same observations of what actually proves out to be effective, what's working and what's not working out there. And so, I hope people don't just think, well, it's more of a spiritual conversation, so I'm not going to digest it. I'm going to reject it. I hope that doesn't happen, because you couldn't meet somebody that's more genuine and sincere than Kirk. And, you and I know our lives and what we found to work and what our parents lived and what they taught us. And we just see society trying to reinvent the ethical and the moral wheel over and over again and reject all of the lessons learned throughout human history. And certain things in principle have to be in place, or it's just going to be destructive. And, in the SEAL teams, we have a log book called the Lessons Learned book. And whenever we screw something up, there's a hard lesson learned. And usually it's an expensive lesson. And we'll write that up. Here's a certain thing, we tried a certain way and it went horribly, and here's the lesson that we learned from that. So from that, we have a new standard operating procedure, and all the new guys have to read that and sign off on it so that they've learned those lessons so that those expensive lessons, sometimes learned in blood, don't have to be relearned unnecessarily. Well, that's what the Bible really tells us. It shows us all these lessons learned, not just from humanity, but from the Father above, from the creator of everything. So you don't even have to pull the pot of boiling water off the stove onto yourself to know that it's going to scald you and burn you and be terrible. You've already been told. So you can either learn the smart way, the wise way from others' lessons, or you can, walk that road yourself and figure it out. But either way, you're going to learn the lesson, because the truth is the truth. So that's an observation I had of Kirk and his presence on the show. What do you think?
Yeah, that was a similar observation. And one of the things that I was getting from him indirectly is you look at some of the content that's coming out of entertainment, and number one, they're recycling old content and they're kind of bastardizing it. And I look at the Bible, there are so many stories, there's so many sub stories that most people aren't aware of. And it's great content. There's life lessons, and it's not all, it's not all pretty. I mean, there's some ugly stuff that happens. And to me, that would be great content for entertainment and help us learn more. I listen to people complain about the Bible, and it's hard for them to understand, and also hear them complain about, it was written by man, so it couldn't have come from God, or it's been kind of the view has changed based upon the person that's writing it. But if they would study, and if we would use entertainment to help them study and help people study and understand what's going on, it would reinforce some of the things that we talked to about today, because there's so many great stories that, they're characters that most people don't know of. I talked to my mom, who she's always talking about some of these stories. I'm scratching my head going, who is that again? Because I've never heard of that character. But she gives me life's lessons from all these little stories that are happening outside of the, Daniel in the lion's den, and, the more traditional Noah's and his ark,
Yeah.
more traditional stuff. So I look at him and I'm thinking, wow, this could very well turn into something like that, because there's so much good information in the Bible that we could capitalize on.
Yeah, it really is. And there's an art to capturing those lessons and telling them in a compelling story. And, it seems like there's so much that's intentionally empty about our entertainment now. It's all about self and depravity and debauchery and the grinding down of our moral fabric. And that's by design. It's intentional. So one of the things that I learned and saw in the entertainment business, sitting in numerous production meetings in Beverly Hills and in Hollywood and Burbank, yeah, is that we would come up with these really compelling TV shows and series to educate and empower people, and they were always saying, "Nope, dumb it down, dumb it down, dumb it down." And Joe America, he's blue collar. He's only going to have half an hour to drink a beer and watch a show after work before he goes to bed, and he just wants to be entertained, showing some bright colors and some funny stuff, and then let that be it. And I'm like, well, why not teach them something in that process too? So anyway, that's my thought on that. So folks, stay tuned. We'll be back with one more segment on defending our children. Welcome back, everyone, to Defending Our Children. I'm on with my friend Forrest, my co-host, and my executive director at Veterans for Child Rescue. And Forrest, I think what we bring into our temple, into our body, both physically and cognitively, even spiritually, matters. And you and I have both been trying to clean up our temples, our bodies in recent years, and doing more detox, more purging of different toxins, and trying to just let my body be healthy and heal from all the toxins we are exposed to in special operations and all the inoculations and things that they've poked us with over the years. And I think Green 85 from our friend Tim James has been a really good product that I have confidence in, because it's all organic and it's natural and it's quality stuff, because we know Tim, and that's why he made it. But I have confidence that it's allowing my body to get what it needs and purge out a lot of the stuff that doesn't belong there. So I celebrate him. I celebrate what he's doing, and I encourage people to go and get theirs, because there's so many things that we're programmed with now that shouldn't be. It's good to put out something that's positive and going to have a healing impact on people. What do you
For
think about that?
sure. And to get Granny to 5, you go to chemicalfreebody.com. That's chemicalfreebody.com. Use the savings code of Sawman, and you can save some money on chemicalfreebody.com on grade 85 and the other products that they have to offer. Speaking of consumption, not only were we talking earlier about what we put in our bodies, but we're also talking about what we take into our minds.
Yeah. Yeah. When I look at what children are being taught now, and I ask my kids, we had to have them go through public school, and I wish more and more that we would have been able to afford private school for them. But I was asking them, okay, what'd you learn today? And they would say, well, we didn't really learn anything. And it was so frustrating. I'm like, well, what are they teaching you? And the things that they were teaching them, I'm like, man, that's not education. That's indoctrination. I think whether we realize it or not, all of the information that we bring into our body programs us. And I think the music, just as much as anything, because people point out the fact that you're blasting that sound directly into your brain through the eardrums, and it's resonating in your body, and it matters the spirit from which that music was created and the intent of it. I think we don't even really realize fully yet how important that is. I've seen all the physical and scientific, studies that they're doing with sound and how it moves sand or salt or anything else around on a flat surface. And they bombard it with different sounds that have a positive and then a negative intention behind it, different words and different meanings and from different emotional states. And the organic material aligns itself differently from that sound than it does from the opposite input. And I'm like, that's, the obvious question is, how does it know? Right? How does sand know what your intention is? How does a plant know whether or not you're telling it it's beautiful and that you love it, or if it's ugly and it needs to die? But a friend of mine in high school, he had one period where he was in the main office, and he said, Craig, this plant was perfectly healthy. This was back in like 1980 or 81. He said, I just kept telling this plant every day it was ugly and I hated it. It was going to die. And he goes, in like 2 weeks, that plant was dead. Like from a perfectly healthy, he goes, just as an experiment, he was just morbidly curious to see if it would work. And they're learning that works. And it's important. So what we tell our kids and what we mean when we speak to them, the words we choose and the spirit from which and the emotion from which we communicate these things is important. And I think scientists are just now starting to learn a lot more about that. And I think it hasn't really filtered down through our populace to the degree that it really needs to. I celebrate it, learning this. I hope it accelerates and we learn more and more and more. But man, it seems that we are programming ourselves as a society with so much that's counterproductive. Divide and conquer, fear state. Fear is not from the creator. That's from the fallen one. That is from a very dark and destructive place. So a fear state is a low vibrational and counterproductive and destructive state in which to exist. Now, temporary fear has its use, that stress of fear to cause you to pay attention to survive something that could be harmful, but to walk around in a spirit of fear, yeah, that's, Bible says very specifically that is not from the creator. He has given us a spirit of power and of love and a sound mind, all great things. If we realize that's how we're supposed to vibe, if that's how we're supposed to be, then you throw these other negative things off. But it's all in the programming. And I teach my kids, I do, I thankfully, for probably about the past 10 years, I've been telling them everything that you go in, that you have going into your mind is programming. either programming yourself positively or negatively. So choose wisely, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And what's interesting is we know that there have been scientific studies, and there was a scientist that wrote a book called Water Crystal Healing, which was by Masaru Emoto. And you can get it on Amazon. This is kind of a shameless plug, but this book basically talks about how they've used certain frequencies and to form ice crystals, and ice crystals that are very symmetrical when you play beautiful music like Chopin or Mozart. And if you play something like rap, the ice crystals as they're forming are not symmetrical, very jagged and jaded. The other thing is that I can tell you there are those songs that you hear that just make you happy, there's certain types of, which, you know, you and I have been talking about, and you've kind of shared with me some of your playlists of worship music. So in the morning, sometimes I'll fire it up and it just gets me in the vibe. And there are certain songs that you hear that illustrate or bring back a positive energy. Like you wake up in the morning and you listen to some of the stuff, you're like, I'm going to have a good day. Doesn't matter what's going on in your life, you're going to have a good day. And what I find fascinating is there are certain things that you could say to a person, they would punch you in the face, but you could sing it in a rap song. And I'm picking on rap, but it's funny because I've started really reading words and lyrics on songs that I've known for decades, and I've never really paid attention to the words. So now I'm studying some of those words because I'm getting input from people saying this is a bad thing. I'm like, oh no, it's not. And I read them like, wow, wait a minute. I didn't realize. I put it into the context of the whole song, and it blows me away. So I agree. What we bring in has such a negative impact, and we don't even realize it. And I think the Bible, I heard just recently, like this weekend, I was listening to somebody, and they said that fear not is in the Bible 365 days, 365 times. Therefore, it's a message for every day, do not fear.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's pretty interesting. And I'm really learning that myself, not to be fearful, and because it gets in the way of
It sure does. Yeah.
of what we need
And
to do.
it's weaponized. I mean, that fear tactic is weaponized, and it is used with a high level of expertise by those who want power over the American populace. And you can watch, once you know what to look for, you can watch them do it and recognize their agenda and the hostility behind it. Like, wow, you mean for these people to be terrorized and afraid and just give you all of their control, give their power. And that's horrible, man. But
you know, it's
knowledge is
interesting.
power.
Kirk kind of mentioned a couple of things in a positive note. He talked about C.S. Lewis, and he talked about Tolkien and some of their messages. They were godly men, and they incorporated their messages within their books. So I thought that was interesting.
It was great. And it was a great show with him. So thank you, Forrest, for helping with it. Everybody else, join us again next time on Defending Our Children.
We hope you've enjoyed listening to Defending Our Children, the show that empowers the people with the information you need to know. Learn more on how to get involved and make a difference at vetsforchildrescue.org, because the children are worthy.